Okay, let's unpack this. We got some really interesting source material here.
Yeah.
And the plan for this deep dive, it's pretty clear. We want to explore how using certain more advanced words helps us talk about complex stuff.
Like technology and health.
Exactly, with, more precision. The sources argue it's not just about sounding smart.
No, definitely not.
Using the right words actually changes how we grasp these big topics.
That's the fascinating part, I think. The material isn't just like a vocab list.
Right.
It's making a case that really mastering these terms gives you a more nuanced way in.
Yeah, lets you get past the surface level.
And into the actual mechanics and what it all means.
Allows for clearer discussion, gets right to the heart of it. So the sources start us off with technology.
Okay.
Highlighting 4 key terms that do some heavy lifting. First up, innovation.
Right. And innovation, according to the sources, is more than just like invention. It's specifically about creating or introducing new ideas, new methods, maybe new products. But the key is that they represent progress.
Progress and advancement.
Yeah, bringing something genuinely new into practical use.
And they give a great example, AI, artificial intelligence. The material points out it's not just another tool, it's a remarkable example of technological innovation.
Because it's creating totally new capabilities, right?
Exactly. Solving problems we thought were impossible or, took huge amounts of human effort. It really advances what tech can do.
And that leads nicely into the next term, digitalization.
Okay.
So the sources define this as the process of converting information into a digital format. But importantly,
It's more than just scanning stuff?
way more. It's about transforming whole processes, whole systems.
Ah, right. Making information easy to get to, easy to manage, digitally. The example they use, online banking, that really drives it home.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Think about it. It totally changed how millions of people handle their money.
Completely rewired daily life.
Yeah, things we just take for granted now. That scale of change, that's what digitalization is about.
Which naturally brings us to connectivity.
Makes sense. In a digitalized world.
Exactly. The ability to connect, to exchange information, that becomes, critical.
Especially through networks, communication systems.
Right. And the sources define it in that context. Their big example, the internet.
Obvious but powerful. Its widespread availability just revolutionized connectivity.
Yeah, enabling global communication, collaboration.
On a scale we'd never imagined before.
Totally new ways to interact, to work.
Okay, and the last tech term?
Automation.
Right. Using tech to do tasks automatically.
With the specific aim of reducing how much humans need to intervene.
And we see that everywhere. The source mentions manufacturing.
Big impact there.
How automation has seriously boosted efficiency, productivity, even precision.
Yeah, machines doing the repetitive stuff or the dangerous stuff.
Frees up people to focus elsewhere.
Now, here's where the sources make a really crucial point. It's about why using these specific terms matters.
Beyond just, having a bigger vocabulary.
Exactly. They argue it shows you have a more sophisticated grasp of the concepts.
Understand the underlying ideas and what they imply.
Yeah. It's the difference, they suggest, between saying something vague like technology is changing things versus saying something like digital innovation is revolutionizing various sectors.
Ah, I see. Much clearer. The second one tells you how innovation and where.
Precisely. Or instead of just people connect easily,
use.
Enhanced connectivity has transformed global communication. Again, you get the mechanism connectivity and the huge scope.
Transformed global communication. Wow.
It signals a deeper level of understanding, a different way of thinking about these systems.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense for tech. And then, interestingly, the sources pivot.
Yeah. They show how the same idea applies to health.
Using precise language for health concepts, too, allows for more targeted discussion.
And the first health term they zoom in on is preventative care.
Okay, preventative care.
This is really fundamental in modern health thinking. The sources define it as taking steps before problems arise.
Proactive, not reactive.
Exactly. Taking steps to prevent diseases or health issues before they even start.
And the examples are familiar things, but framed this way. Like vaccinations, regular checkups.
Healthy lifestyle choices.
Right. And the source really emphasizes that focusing on this preventative stuff can massively reduce chronic diseases later on.
It's like an investment, really.
Yeah, an investment in future health. Good way to put it. What's next?
Well-being.
Okay.
And this term, the way the sources use it, it's broader than just physical health.
Right, not just absence of disease.
No, it's more holistic, a state of being, comfortable, healthy, and happy.
That holistic view seems key.
It is. The sources are clear. Promoting well-being means looking at physical health, sure, but also emotional well-being.
Mental clarity.
Social connections, even. It's about the whole person.
Not just treating sickness when it pops up. Okay, got it. And the third term.
Nutrition.
A big one.
Huge. Defined simply as, the food we take in related to what our bodies need.
But the sources stress how crucial it is.
Absolutely vital. They point out good nutrition isn't just about, having enough energy.
It's foundational for overall health.
Foundational. And plays a massive role in preventing all sorts of diseases. Understanding nutrition helps with targeted choices.
Both personal choices and, public health strategies.
Exactly. And the final health term they highlight is sedentary lifestyle.
Okay, that one sounds pretty self-explanatory.
It describes a way of life with, a lot of sitting around, little physical activity.
Which, the sources point out, is a major issue today.
A huge contributor to many health problems. They really stress that adopting a less sedentary lifestyle.
Getting more active.
Yeah. Incorporating regular physical activity, it's essential for physical health, managing weight.
Preventing things like obesity, heart disease, diabetes.
All those related conditions.
So, just like with the tech words, using these specific health terms, preventative care, well-being, nutrition, sedentary lifestyle, it shows you get the concepts.
Right. It enhances how accurately you can talk about health. You can differentiate between, say, treating an illness versus preventing it versus promoting overall wellness.
Different strategies, different goals.
Precisely.
Okay, so pulling this together, what does this mean for you, the listener? We've looked at terms like innovation, digitalization, connectivity, automation.
Sharpening our view of technology.
And then preventative care, well-being, nutrition, sedentary lifestyle.
Giving us more precise language for health.
So the main takeaway from the sources seems to be that using these words isn't just vocabulary building.
Not at all. It's about getting a clearer mental map, really.
Understanding complex topics more deeply.
And communicating about them more effectively. You move beyond just describing symptoms or surface changes.
To analyzing causes, proposing specific actions.
Exactly.
And the good news is the sources are practical about how to actually do this.
Yeah, they don't just leave you hanging. They emphasize consistent exposure and, crucially, active use.
So not just reading lists, integrating them naturally.
They suggest things like, listening to discussions like this one.
Reading articles, reputable ones on these kinds of topics.
And actually getting involved in conversations where you push yourself to use these terms correctly.
Right, not rote memorization, like you said.
No. The argument is the more you encounter these words in real contexts, and the more you try using them,
the more they just become part of how you think and talk.
Yeah, building confidence and making you more effective in your communication.
Which really brings up a question for you listening. How could this idea, seeking out and using more precise words, help you understand other complex things you run into?
Yeah, maybe it's climate change or economics or politics or art, anything really.
Could that precision change how you engage with it? And maybe a final thought, building on that. The sources suggest the key is just consistent exposure and use.
Keep at it.
So what's maybe one small way you could start integrating just one of these terms we talked about? Perhaps innovation or well-being into how you think or maybe how you talk just this week.
Yeah, something specific. What could you look for? What conversation could you use it in?
Just something to mull over as you go about your day.